Well, the story of these Native Americans involved in the attack at Estifanoga and Rico's Bluff is really one of the most tragic in American history. They originated in Alabama. They were part of the Creek Nation in Alabama. And in 1836, they joined the forces that rose up against the United States in the Creek War of 1836. When the Creeks were defeated in that war, most of them were taken prisoner. They were taken to a concentration camp in Alabama. The U.S. called it an immigration camp, but it was in essence a concentration camp. They were forced to leave behind almost everything they owned, their livestock, their home, anything that they couldn't carry in their arms and on their back, they had to leave behind. While they were in this concentration camp, they were attacked by a band of, I guess you could only really describe them as white outlaws. They attacked them, they assaulted women, they beat people of all ages. People were shot when they tried to protect themselves or protect their family members. It was related at the time that the Creek women had their noses and their ears slit so that these whites could obtain the gold jewelry that they were wearing. It's just a tragic scene. This led their chief, at that time his name was Coacochi, to lead them in flight, and they fled into the swamps on the Upper Pea River in Alabama, and around Barber County and Pike County, Alabama today. Militia troops followed them there. They had several battles, most significantly the Battle of Hobdey's Bridge. From there they were driven down the Pea River, which merges with the Choctawhatchee River, and into Florida. Along the way they raided homes and farms and settlements as they came south, primarily to secure arms and ammunition, but also food. They were driven into Walton County, Florida. They were attacked there by the Florida militia. Several battles took place in the Walton County area between overwhelming militia forces and this group of Creeks, but they could not be captured. Several women and children were captured on the Aliqua Creek or Aliqua River in Walton County, and many of them were actually staked out on the ground and executed by a force of Jackson County militia. It was a tragic scene. They then were driven eastward through the Florida Panhandle. They turned themselves in briefly and lived among Yellow Hairs people on the Apalachicola River in Jackson County, but trouble erupted there. They fled again, this time under the leadership of Pascofa, and they came down into what is today's Apalachicola National Forest. From there they would come out occasionally and raid against isolated homes to get arms and ammunition, to get food, to get salt, to get the kind of things they needed to survive. For 5 years, from 1838 to 1843, they remained elusive and uncaptured and unconquered in the Apalachicola National Forest. By the time they finally surrendered in 1843, in fact, Pascofa was the last Creek chief to surrender, last significant Creek chief to surrender east of the Mississippi River. The Seminole War in Florida was pretty much over by that point, but this little band of Creeks had continued to fight. They eventually turned themselves in. After they turned themselves in, it was learned that a rumor about them was true, that some of the mothers in this group had suffocated their own small children to keep them from crying out and betraying their location to soldiers as the soldiers were marching back and forth looking for the people. So a real tragic story. Does not excuse the violence that took place here at Estifanoga Bluff, but it maybe adds some perspective to the story as well. They were taken west to Oklahoma, and that's where their descendants were resettled.